All right, welcome everybody. My name is Admin, and I'm not a financial advisor. Anything we go over in this class is not financial advice. So, today's topic is shiny object syndrome, or you guys may know this in the trading world as strategy hopping. So, what I define as strategy hopping or shiny object syndrome is when somebody finds like let's say a strategy that works. Let's say like the EMA crossover and it works for them for like a month. And then let's say they'll have 2 or 3 bad days or even a week that's bad. And then they're like, this strategy sucks. Let me find something else. Right. So what they end up doing, they go from one strategy to another one, to another one, to another one, to another one. And they stay in that cycle over and over and over. And we're going to go over different points today, like the dangers of it, why some traders fail. I'll give you some life examples and some solutions on how we can correct this and really get to the bottom of really what's going to work best for you. So, um, some issues that come up with strategy hopping when it comes to traders is really going to be um, an overload of information, right? Because what I see happen a lot is if you go from strategy one to strategy two to strategy three, you have a lot of information, right? And you're like adding in things from strategy one, two, and three, even four, five, or however many you've seen, and you're putting all these things together, which doesn't necessarily make it easier for you. It actually makes it more complicated. And as I always say, trading is quite simple once you understand whatever strategy it is for you. You don't need to overcomplicate it, right? So, one thing with all the indicators that you might add is just adding more noise that's probably not needed. I'll give you guys an example for myself. So, when I first started, my first mentor, he used indicators, and I had EMA crossovers, RSI, Bollinger Bands, or whatever you call those. And while it was working on what he taught me, most of the time, no, I'll say most of the time over time, it got to a point where I started getting confused because I'm like, all right, the EMAs are saying go long, RSI is saying go short, MACD is saying go long, Bollinger Bands are saying, go short or go long or what have you. And then it's like, all right, which one do I choose? Like, should I go long? Should I go short? Like, which one? Right? So the biggest thing here is like, don't overload yourself with so much information. Kind of just take a step back and really go through the strategy in and of itself. So if the strategy one says do this, then only do that. Don't mix them together immediately because you still need to figure out if it's actually viable or not, right? Another thing that traders get trapped in is the instant gratification because you'll take one, let's say you trade a strategy for a month and it works out and you're like, yes, this is working. I finally found the edge and this and this and that. And then it stops working. And then you got so used to that good feeling of the gratification that you were getting by winning that now because you were taking losing trades, you're like, I don't really like this trade setup or strategy anymore. Let me find something else. And then you start winning there. And then what ends up happening is that now you lose some trades and now you're like, this kind of sucks. Let me find something else. And then you continue in that cycle, which is what you do not want. One thing to note as well is if you find yourself in this cycle and you're on social media, try not to be on social media too much as you're developing yourself because it gets a lot of noise that you don't really need, in my opinion. If it works for you, keep on doing it. But I find for the individuals that I've worked with and helped that it's a lot more damaging than helpful. So if you are on social media a lot and looking at like 10 different people, just bring it down a bit because it's probably adding more to your plate than you need to, right? Going over some dangers, as I mentioned, lack of focus. Jumping from strategy to strategy so much is really gonna limit your focus, right? Because instead of understanding fully whatever the strategy is and what you're doing, you're really you're setting yourself up for failure because you're not really focused in exactly what the strategy has to offer you, whatever that may be, right? So kind of being in this mindset of like finding the perfect strategy, which in my opinion doesn't exist per se, because there's thousands of strategies out there, right? And in my opinion, they all work to varying degrees. You really just need to find out, what works better for me, right? Like I mentioned for myself. I use indicators when I first started. And then once I discovered the strat, which is basically price action simplified, it was like the greatest thing I've ever discovered. I don't need any indicators at all, which works better for my brain and my trading personality. So some people that I've talked to, the strat doesn't work for them. How? I have no clue because it's the easiest strategy of all time, at least in my experience. So you really just have to focus on and try to see, depending what you're doing, if it works for you or not, right? Also, with not staying with one strategy for a good amount of time to see its validity, you're going to get inconsistent results, right? You might be winning for a few weeks, then you might be losing, and then you just go to another strategy. You might be winning, losing, and again, just going right back into that cycle, which we want to avoid. You're really going to lose discipline because you're not going to be disciplined enough to really stick with something, right? You can be like, oh, this is challenging. Let me find something else. That's life, right? In life, that's how it is. Every time you start something new, whatever it may be, it's going to be challenging. But if you quit every time it gets hard, it's going to be really, really, really difficult for you to get where you want in life with whatever that may be, or in trading, right? Oh, this part of the strategy is difficult to learn. I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's like, that doesn't make sense, right? Try to hold yourself, or not even try, hold yourself to a higher standard because that's how you're going to get past that hump, right? And this is with anything. I'm pretty sure when I don't know, for the sake of the conversation, let's see one that I can think of. Let's just use driving for an example. I'm pretty sure everybody or most people that are watching this video know how to drive, right? Unless you live in New York, you just take a train everywhere. So when you first start driving, you're like, how fast should I step on the gas? How much pressure should I put on the brake? And all these things, right? Until you really understand, um, how much pressure to put on the gas pedal, how much pressure to put on the brake pedal. Because I'm pretty sure when you first started, at least when I did, you don't really know how cars operate. So you're like putting too much pressure on the gas and you just zoom forward, right? But now that you know how it works, you can ease in on the gas and then you just slowly move forward or whatever it is you're trying to do. So just understand that when you get to these roadblocks and it gets challenging, don't use that as a demotivator to like kind of just stop doing it and go to something else. Because it's like when we find something new, it's like, yes, it's exciting. This is easy or easier for the most part, but then you're going to always hit that roadblock. So when you get there, just take a deep breath. Again, it's perfectly normal. That's how life is. It's challenging. It's not easy, especially for most things in life. And if you want the better things in life, you're going to need to get past that hump, right? So discipline and pushing yourself is really going to be key here. Another thing that could be a danger of strategy hopping is wasted time and resources, right? I have a buddy of mine who I've known for about 3 years now, and he's been trading for, I think, like 5 to 8 years, something like that. And he is still not consistently profitable. And the reason being is because he continues to get drawn in by the shiny object syndrome, strategy hopping. And every time, not every time, but usually when him and I speak, he's like, hey, I got this new course from this guy. And, like, this is going to be it. Or this course, or that strategy, or this strategy. And from the 3 years that I've known him, his issue is not strategy. His issue is his risk management, over leveraging, blowing accounts, getting emotional. And I'm like, look, You can find all these courses and look up all this information, but that's not the problem because you know how to trade, you know how to make money. The issue is keeping the money. So until you fix that, it's not going to matter how many courses and, classes you take. When you're going to do this, the common denominator is you, right? So that needs to be addressed. Hopefully, he listens to me one day. If not, it is what it is. I can't control people. So be mindful of that. You don't want to waste so much money, and you want to really sit down with yourself and spend time with yourself and be like, all right, what is the issue really here? Is it the strategy? Is it me, or is it both? And you need to be real honest with yourself. If you find yourself using words like, oh, this strategy sucks, or the market this or the market that, that to me, that's red flag language, or a language that can lead to better awareness within yourself. Because is it really the market, or is it really you? Right? So take some time, be honest with yourself, and really determine, is it actually the market? Is it the strategy? Or is it just me? Right? And every time I see people mention that it's something outside of themselves, 95% of the time it's them. I was on Reddit a week or two ago, and some guy's like, oh, what was the thread? It was, oh, the biggest problem about futures trading is that it's open 23/6. And he's like, he was saying that because it's open for that amount of time, that people can trade whenever they want and overtrade and do this and do that. And I'm like, just because you can trade 23/6 doesn't mean you should trade 23/6. And the problem isn't that he was losing money because the market's just open for that amount of time. The problem is that he couldn't control himself from not trading during that time, right? The goal of trading, I'd imagine that all of us are here for, is to get back our time, right? The goal is to get back our time and not be a slave to trading, right? I only trade 3 hours maximum a day, if that. I'm not trying to be on the charts any longer than I need to be. If I hit my first trade, I'm done for the day. Whether that be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I'm going to enjoy my day, right? My goal is not to be on the charts for 8 hours. In my opinion, the more time you spend on the charts, the worse it's probably going to be. So for him, it's like, I'm doing bad because the market's open 23/6. Like, actually, not really. You're doing bad because you don't have the self-control to not get on the charts when you're not supposed to. You should only be on the charts when you're going to be trading or when you're going to be prepping for your trading session. That's it. Other than that, go enjoy your life. That's what we do this for. Now, some solutions that you guys can practice and put into your routine. Journaling is definitely going to be a big key component in this. If you guys are new to the channel or those who have been here for a while, in the playlist section of the channel, I have in the building your trading system and trading psychology video or playlist, I have a journaling class that I had. It's like an hour, hour and a half long, where I go into all the details of what I journal to collect as much information as I can based on my results. So highly recommend you guys watch that if you haven't already. So, like I mentioned, journaling is going to be key because we need to determine what's working, what's not working, what can be improved, and so on and so forth, right? So, for example, when it comes to trading, when some question that you can ask yourself when you're journaling, what time frame are you taking these setups on? During what time of the day are you taking these setups on? What type of trade is it? Is it a reversal? Is it a continuation? Is it a breakout? So on and so on and so forth. So that we can get a better understanding is like, all right, based on these setups, being taken on this time frame, it looks like I make most of the money in the morning as opposed to the afternoon, which is what I do. Most of my money is made in the morning time of the trading day, so I don't even bother trading the afternoon session. So what I encourage you guys to do is journal and figure out when do you make the most of your money. And whatever time that is, only focus on that time because it doesn't make sense if I make $1,000 in the morning only to give it back in the afternoon, right? So, something that you guys can do. Again, another thing is setting realistic expectations, right? I see a lot of individuals coming into trading, even myself when I first started. It's like, cool, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. It's like, understand that trading is a skill that needs to be developed. You don't go to college to be a surgeon, and then you're 1 month in, you're like, all right, where's the operating table, right? You need at least what, like 4 years of college and like 2 to 4 years of med school, and then they let you operate. Obviously, I have no clue what I'm talking about regarding being a surgeon. So if any of you are surgeons or doctors, please let me know. But 4 to 8 years on average, I would imagine, before you can do anything serious in that field. So the same thing for trading. Obviously, with proper mentoring and proper guidance, that can be sped up by a lot. But again, have expectations that this is not going to be an overnight thing. You need to spend the time to collect the information and really be patient with it, right? So don't expect to be profitable in a month. This takes time. The quickest that I've seen somebody be profitable is about 3 months. So just keep that in mind. And again, that's with proper mentoring that I saw that. Like for myself with the strat, I probably worked with like 4 or 5 mentors, and it took me maybe 5 months to be fully profitable with the strat. Even though it was consistent, it wasn't like fully consistent to where I wanted it to be. So always look into mentoring. I rather spend money on mentors than spend money losing and giving it to the market. That's how I see it anyway. And it can save time. You can learn by yourself, might take you 2, 3 years, or you can get some assistant by somebody who's where you want to be and save that time. Some other thing that I mentioned earlier is, stick to the process, right? Once you get to a point where like it starts getting challenging or like you're like, let me like stop doing this because it's hard, just stick with it, right? Spend proper time with the strategy to really see, is this actually something for me? And if after you collect all the data, you've been paper trading it for 2, 3 months and it's actually not viable, then sure, see if you can find something else. But you really want to give it the time that it deserves to see if it's true, if it's valid or not. Some last little tidbits is, you know, understand that you're going to go through these roller coasters up and down during your trading journey. Perfectly normal. It's just part of the process. But if you quit at the first sign of any challenge, you're really not going to go far, in my experience and in my opinion. Risk management, again, please, please, please practice risk management, right? You don't want to over leverage and then be like, oh, this strategy sucks. But it's like, it doesn't suck. You just over leverage and blew your account, which is probably not in the guidelines of that strategy, right? Reinforcing journaling, as I mentioned. And again, with all the information that you collect, you're really going to personalize it to yourself, right? Like for me in the strat, I've personalized it to myself in the sense that these specific time frames work for me. These specific time frames don't work for me. And that's how I like it. That's what works for me. Some people enjoy using anything under the 5 minute. I personally do not. Anything above the 5 minute, that's what I prefer to use. Like the 5 and 15 minute, 30 minute, and the 1 hour and the 4 hour, I'll use for day trading. Where some people might only want to use the 5 minute and the 1 hour for day trading, right? And you find this by collecting that data. So that's really going to help you a lot in finding out what works best for you, which is what I love about trading. You can really customize it to your liking. So again, just to wrap up, as I mentioned to you guys, spend some time with yourself and really understand, is whatever strategy that I'm using, is it not working because of me? Is it not working because it's the actual strategy or what exactly, just so we can get to the bottom of what it is so we can correct the issue. Other than that, any questions you guys have, let me know in the comments below. If you are currently struggling with your strategy, let me know as well. I can kind of give you better direction on the things that you can look into, some of my content as well that may help you. And if this helped you at all, again, just let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. I always appreciate your guys' insights and your comments. And I will see you guys for the next one. Enjoy your day.